be making vegan pork and cabbage dumplings today. Obviously, I will be using alternative proteins, but all of the other flavors, soy sauce, rice wine, ginger, garlic, everything else is going to stay uber traditional, so you are going to have some amazing vegan dumplings that you guys can have any time of the day. So let's head over to the kitchen and then let's get started. Alrighty kitties, so I'm going to start off with TVP, textured vegetable protein, which is usually my substitute for all ground meat, so this is going to be for the pork. And I'm going to put in about 1.5 cups to kind of match 1 pound of pork. And it's not necessarily by weight so much as I'm looking for volume, so similar volume of minced meat. To that I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of salt and then 1/8 of a teaspoon of white pepper. And white pepper is much more of an Asian flavor. I feel like it's a little bit more peppery and less kind of fruity than your dark pepper is. So just kind of mix that around, make sure that the TVP is equally distributed so that it's equally flavored. So about 1 cup of boiling water or pretty warm water. And my goal is not to really rehydrate this so that it's super, soaking with water, but I actually want to keep the mixture fairly dry. So you want to put in about 2 teaspoons of minced garlic. So you can do that fresh, or if you have some from the jar, feel free to do that. And then to that I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of grated ginger. So I just took the microplane and then I made sure that it was nice and fine. And so, garlic, ginger, soy sauce, these are all kind of Asian cuisine flavors. So to this I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of rice wine, which is also very traditional. So you're really going to get that kind of gyoza dumpling flavor with all of these traditional Asian flavors. So to that 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and it's just I find that the Asian soy sauces are a little bit more well balanced. And then afterwards 1 tablespoon of oil to keep everything moist, and then about 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, just in case if there's additional liquid. I want to be able to soak that up, and I don't want the filling to be too liquidy. So this will kind of soak up the sauce, and I'll turn the sauce nice and thick. So just push that aside when you're done. You're going to be preparing the rest of the filling. So this is more of the veggie portion of it. And I'm going to take about 1/2 of a cabbage. And I'm going to tell you right now that I should have minced that a lot finer. So you can mince it first and then put it into some boiling water a couple of minutes, just until the cabbage gets nice and soft. No firm rules here. Just remember that it's going to get steamed or probably cooked again a little bit later. But just, make sure that it's nice and soft in salted water. So after this has been cooked, make sure to put it into a strainer and then push it down. You don't want this to be wet at all, and then just kind of leave it for a little bit to continue draining. Next, I'm going to take a bunch of scallions, and this has been pre-washed. I'm just going to leave the elastic on so that it'll be a little bit easier. Traditionally, we use the Chinese chives for this, and Chinese chives are a little bit different. They're kind of more grassy. They're not as flavor intense as the Western chives are, but if you can't find the Chinese chives, just feel free to use a bunch of scallions. And I'm just going to take this almost all the way up to the end, so the white parts as well as the green parts, except just the top bit that doesn't really have a lot of flavor. So a bunch of that, and then that just goes into your meat mixture right now. And then you just want to mix that around because you are dealing with a fairly big amount. I mean, you can always have it, but always kind of mix as you go. I'm going to take actually a carrot, and this is really up to you how many vegetables you want to add to this, but I find that carrots add a nice crunch and also a little bit of a sweetness. And then I also minced up 1/4 cup of shiitake mushrooms, rehydrated, and that's just for a meaty flavor to add right back into that. So like I said before, I should have actually, after I cooked this, chopped this cabbage up some more, because it's going to be a little bit more difficult to work with big pieces of cabbage when you start filling the dumplings with this. So again, toss that around, and at this point you do want to taste your filling. So if you think it needs to be a little bit more salty, add a little bit more salt or a little bit more soy sauce. And just kind of keep in mind that you do want the filling to be kind of a tad more salty than you think it is, because somehow that flavor gets lost. So I'm just going to make a slurry right now, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch with about 1/4 cup of water, and this is what's going to help me seal the dumpling skins. And so what you want to do is you want to actually just brush around half of the circle right on the edge, and you don't want to do this after you fill it, because when there is filling it's harder to kind of get to those edges. So I'm taking kind of a 2 tablespoon ice cream scoop, but actually you should probably do a little bit less because these were a tad overfilled, and you want to kind of pinch the centers first and then kind of work your way around the right side and then the left side, and then finally you want to push that filling towards the center so that you get kind of a nice seal and, you know, a nice area of seal on that, and then that also makes it nice and poofy and pretty. So afterwards you want to just kind of repeat that a bunch of times. I would say that this filling wrapper had maybe about 50 wrappers in it, and I think I used about 1.5 packets, but really it depends on how full you fill your filling. So obviously the easier way is to start off with a smaller amount of filling and then work your way up as you get better at it. So this took kind of a lot of time, but you know, take a Sunday, do this, and then you'll have dumplings for really a very long time whenever you feel like it. Just kind of pop these guys. You can steam them, you can pan fry them, you can fry them, and so at this point, this is when you can stick it into the freezer, and after it's finished freezing, you can just put it into a bag, and then you'll have a bag of frozen dumplings ready at your disposal. I'd probably space those out a little bit more in case that they stick together, and you know, label it veggie dumplings. I'm just going to show you how to pan fry them because I think most people like it that way, and this is kind of how I do it. So a couple tablespoons of oil, medium high heat. I'm just going to put my dumplings right on like that, 2 to 3 minutes each side, just until it gets some color on it, and then I flip it over again, and then again probably about 2 to 3 minutes, okay? And usually, I mean, if it's straight from the freezer, you're just gonna need to add a little bit of water. That might have been a little bit too much, but just a couple, like 1 to 2 tablespoons of water, just to steam it for a little bit. Still gonna be on medium-high heat, just until everything inside gets warm, or is warmed, because everything inside's already cooked. And then you just want to, after all of the water evaporates, you just want to kind of pan fry both sides for about a minute, again, just to get them nice and crunchy after it has been steaming. And then afterwards, here are these guys. I managed to find one of those dumpling plates that you always see at the Asian restaurants. And then you just want to pair that up with some soy sauce. I like to add a little bit of vinegar to my soy sauce because I think it's just a more well-rounded flavor and it's better for kind of the salty gyoza dumplings. But really, that's all that this is. I like making these dumplings at home because I can fill it with whatever I want, whether it be more vegetables, or I want it to be saltier, I want it to be meatier, then I add more TVP, and it's really all up to you. And I know how much stores charge for these vegan kind of meatless dumplings, and you can just make a ton for a fraction of the price. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed making these dumplings with me. I love pairing dumplings with like rice and noodles and everything else. So I hope that you guys will make it and enjoy eating it too. And as usual, if you want to see more recipes like this, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye!